So now I'm going to discuss a topic that is rather difficult to go over just using a whiteboard. Ideally, I would like to have be there in person to kind of walk you through this step by step to help you grasp an understanding of breaching and clearing a building. Unfortunately, we all have a life outside of airsoft, so it becomes a little bit more difficult to be in person and actually conduct this sort of training. So instead, what I'm going to do is, the best I can, translate the complicated act of breaching and clearing a building using a whiteboard. I'm sure you are entirely confused simply because of what I have on the screen. A lot of you might recognize this as a football play. It's a pretty simple play, quarterback takes a snap, hands it off to the running back to his left, running back then takes it and runs it into the end zone. This is how football plays are drawn up. In a perfect scenario, this play scores every time. The odds are, on a play like this, running back might get 10 yards. Running back might fumble the ball. Running back might get tackled in the backfield. Quarterback might fumble the ball. One of the blockers might be too slow and the running back will just simply run past his blocker and then get tackled down the field anyways. A lot of things can go wrong in a football play that can cause essentially the whole play and the intention of scoring to come to a screeching halt. However, if executed very well, most plays are going to net you a lot of yards. You've seen plays where they run up the middle and they get 10 yards. How often do you get 10 yards running up the middle? It's not unheard of, but it's also not common. If a play is run well and run as correctly as you can, it can be extremely successful. Same thing goes to a breach and clear. So we're going to start on the exterior of the building. Point man has eyes on that door. Number 2 guy has eyes that way. 3 guy has eyes that way. 4th man has eyes that way. And the 5th man is watching the rear. Now once it's time to actually go in and breach, and you'll notice all of them have overlapping fields of fire. If I were to draw triangles, there's going to be little zones where there's going to be 2 guns trained on them at all times. So let's go ahead and get ready to breach this building. How does that happen? Point man, team lead, whoever the case may be. Team lead's usually going to be number 3. Point man may call for it. Again, when you're actually out there, you're playing it by ear. But the call for the breach is going to happen. When that takes place, your 5 man is going to come out of the stack. 99% of the time in airsoft, you're just going to be dealing with a basic wooden door. You're not going to have a breaching tool. You're not going to have explosives. You're probably just going to have your hands and a strong set of legs. That sounded bad. So once the 5 man comes out, your 4 man now has responsibility for rear security. This all happens pretty quickly, by the way. In theory, it should. So your 5 man comes up. That door's closed. What's going to happen? In this particular scenario, your doorknob's going to be right there, or your handle. However, the door's going to swing that way. That's how your door swings. And that's how this stack is set up. If the door were to swing the other way, obviously, you'd flip this. The reason for that, 5 man just reaches over with his hand, grabs the door, and swings it open for the rest of the stack. Let's say this door swings outward, right? If this door were to swing this way, the stack's on the wrong side of the door. The stack would then need to be over here. You got to take that into account too. When you're stacking up on the door, point man needs to figure out as they're approaching the door, alright, how does this door swing? Does it open to the interior or to the exterior? If it opens to the exterior, then you want to stack up on the doorknob side. If it opens to the interior, you want to stack up on the hinge side. So your 5-man's here. Door swings to the interior and is going to swing back towards the left. 5-man grabs that doorknob, pushes it open. Or, let's say it's a locked door. Let's say this is a real world situation or something. It's a locked door. 5-man kicks that sucker open as hard as he can, or takes a shotgun and blows the lock off. Or, whatever the breaching method is, 5-man takes care of it. But for airsoft, he's probably just going to twist the doorknob and push the door open. So the door swings open. As the door is swinging open, you're now taking those first steps into the building. The 1-man comes in first, and I'm going to clean this up a bit. So your 1-man, he's going to come in first. As he comes in, his priority is going to be this corner. So as he's coming in, he checks his corner, and then his eyes immediately go to the next corner. He scans it, it's clear, or he's engaged the enemy. Once it's dealt with, eyes scan to the next corner. As you're scanning, you're looking for targets. And the 1-man's going to continue all the way around to his point of domination in that room. The strongest position for him. That's going to be where he ends up. From here, all the way over here, and he's going to hug that wall the whole way. Your 2-man in the stack will do the opposite. 2-man's going to come in. He's going to go to that corner. Once that corner is clear, his eyes then move to the next corner. His point of domination basically going to be on the opposite side of the room of the point man. Three and 4 are going to follow suit. You got your 3-man, and you got your 4-man. Eventually your 5th man is going to come in here and he's going to get security on that door. You don't want people coming up behind you. By the time the 5th man enters the room, most of that room should already be clear and the fighting done. If the fighting's not done, 5th man, obviously you go into the room, you help deal with the threat, and immediately go back to dealing with the next greatest threat, which is going to be rear security. Even if there's another door in there, you've got 4 guns trained on that door. You're trusting your team to have your back, and they're trusting you to have theirs. It's the worst feeling in the world when you're playing airsoft and you all get bogged down in a firefight. Everyone's trying to get that kill. Everyone's, working towards that same goal, and then all of a sudden some dude with a pistol comes up behind you and murks everybody. It's embarrassing. That's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to you. Sometimes rear security, it's not the most glorious position. Sometimes you're just sitting there quietly watching a door. But you fail at that job, and the consequences are so much worse. I just walked through it. It took me 10 minutes to explain to you how that happens, but in reality this is probably going to take 5 seconds. So the first man comes into the room, right? First man comes in. He's kind of already scanned this area, but his eyes are going here. What's the 2-man? 2-man's here. He's getting eyes on in the room for the very first time. His eyes are now towards the middle and scanning back towards this corner. Right? So 1-man, eyes go straight to this corner. 2-man, getting his eyes in the room for the first time. The other 3 individuals are still stacked up outside. 3-man's now coming into the room for the first time. 4-man is getting eyes on for the first time. Notice the similarity in how the arrows are pointed. So the first man, he's heading to this corner. He's already scanned it, checked it, it's clear. His eyes are now rotating around to the next corner. The third man comes in on this side. His eyes are basically taking the same path as the first man, except this corner's clear. So now you got two guns going into this corner. Two man is now clearing this corner. Four man is getting eyes on for the first time. So now, within the first few seconds, maybe 3 or 4 seconds, you have 5 eyes in this room. One man is still flowing down to his corner, and he's going to work his way around to the point of domination. This is, again, it's hard to kind of pace out something that takes 5 seconds on a whiteboard. It can be quite difficult to work on timing, just like in football. There's a reason you run those plays over and over again, and you have coaches watching you. They're trying to help you. All right, you're moving to this position too slow. You need to, brush this blocker and get to the linebacker and block him because that's your primary goal. Someone else is going to come along and block that lineman that you just kind of shrugged off there. If you get too caught up dealing with the lineman, you're not going to get to the linebacker, and the linebacker's going to make the tackle. If you've ever played football, you've probably heard a coach talk like that. Can't really go over that kind of material on the whiteboard. You have to be there in person, so we're just going through the play-by-play. One man's looking towards the core of the room. 3 man, his eyes are, again, they've now scanned, they've checked this, and his eyes are going to be rotating back towards the core of the room. 2 and 4, this corner's already clear. 2 and 4, they got eyes on that corner. 5 man, as he's coming in the room, he's seeing stuff in the middle for the first time. So within 5 seconds, technically, this middle square has been looked at least 5 times. Someone has glanced in that direction. If there was a bad guy here, you'd know it by now. 5 man's going to come in, and he's going to follow the other odd numbers. Does that diagram look familiar? It's because we've already been here before. That's how quickly this all happens. 1 man, 2 man, 3 man, 4 man, 5 man. As they funnel into that room, and they do it pretty quick. You've seen the video that's kind of probably been looping, showing you how quickly 4 people can get into a room. This is an example with 5 people. Now the reason their eyes all focus back towards the middle in this scenario, they've all checked the corners. Corners are clear. Only remaining threat can come from the middle. Even if you've had eyes on that middle, 5 separate times, there could still be a threat. There could be a guy in a bunker. Every time somebody comes in, you take a quick shot at him, he ducks behind cover, 5 people converge on that final target. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. You could also have a scenario where this room leads into another room. There could be a door there. Alright, 5 eyes, you're on the door. 5 men, have rear security, team lead, stack up on whoever the case may be, and next thing you know, you're going to have 5 people, or these 4 people are going to move and start to stack up inside this room. And they're going to get ready to breach the next room. In that case, they're going to be clearing that room with just those 4 people. 5 man's still going to have rear security. 5 man might move to a different position. Maybe he moves up here where number 1 is. Maybe number 1 becomes your new rear man. Alright? 4 guns, turn, face that way. 1 man has rear security. He's in a good position in this room already. Or 1 man moves up, 5 man moves back. However, it's all up to the team lead. And you can't discuss this stuff like, okay, I think number 2, I think you need to stack up on the door, and number 5, I know rear security sucks, so you go ahead and you take point on this one, and the guy who was point last time, you go ahead and watch. No, you ain't got time for that. This is why it's important to be on a team. Sometimes you're just making the play up as you go. You're just going with the flow. Speed is key. The longer it takes you to go from one room to the next room to the next room in a building, the more time you're giving the enemy to react to what you're doing. If the enemy can set up and properly react to what you're doing, you've lost the initiative. The advantage that you had coming in is now gone. And honestly, when you're in this scenario as the team breaching, you don't have many advantages going for you. About the only advantage you have is they don't know when you're coming in. And if you give them time to set up a proper defense, it doesn't matter when you come in. They're going to have the doors covered, and you're not going to go very far. And I'm sure a lot of airsofters have seen that. You finally get a foothold inside a room, but it took you so long to get there. Everyone else has now reacted to what you're doing, and, well, that's all you have now is a foothold. You have that one little room, nothing else. Can't go any further, and now you got to try to find a way to take the next room or take the building. All you've accomplished was one room. If you're not moving quickly enough, you're going to get bogged down, and when you get bogged down, you lose. It's that simple. You got a 5-man team in here. If they get bogged down and they can't get into the next room, it ain't going to take long for somebody to, start tossing grenades in here to get kills. It's not going to take long for somebody to come around and try to flank. Even with a guy watching rear security, bad guy could come up right here and toss a grenade through that door. Could bounce it. Let's say the door is sitting right here. Could bounce a grenade off the door. Now your 5-man has to take his eyes off or get blown up by a grenade. He might have rear security, but he doesn't have eyes here. You got to move quickly. You can't afford to get bogged down.